Mike, I know you said on Monday some things are important and other things are interesting.
Mm-hmm. You like that, huh?
See, I did actually. Do you also talk to the players about that sort of thing, knowing that they could get amped up for you specifically to try to win this game in Tennessee?
Yeah, we're not trying to win one for the Gipper here. We're just trying to make sure that these guys are focused on improving. And I think that they are. I think they're locked in. And hopefully, we can get them as prepared as we possibly can between now and Sunday.
All right, that is Patriots head coach Mike Vrabel, formerly the Titans head coach, and a very successful one for the years that he was in Tennessee. We head to Nashville and we bring in our pal Chase McCabe, host of the Chase and Big Joe show on 102.5 The Game in Nashville. Chase, listen, first, welcome, but as we hear, I know, waking up early with us, we appreciate you. If I were listening in that room to Mike Vrabel, I'm basically the Ron Burgundy, Will Ferrell meme with the cigarette. Is this game important to you, Mike? No, we're not going to win one for the Gipper. I don't believe you. That's me with the fake cigarette. How important, how personal is this to Vrabel in your estimation as someone that covered him for years there in Tennessee?
Well, thanks for having me. It's so personal that remember that 59-0 game between the Patriots and the Titans about 10, 15 years ago? I think it could be something like that. I mean, he's not going to say that, but I think he wants to just come in here and absolutely destroy the Titans. I think send a message to Titans owner Amy Adams-Strunk of, hey, look at me, you just fired your coach that was supposed to be better than I am, and I just came in here and gave you one. So I think there's a little animosity there, but you played that soundbite, and I'm just laughing. I miss Vrabel. Oh, man, do I miss that.
He's one of the best, and I just love how straight edge and direct he is on things. And so now that you've mentioned basically the fact that this is important, this means something with your time covering him, what is the atmosphere like in Tennessee? Because I feel like everyone tried to do the best job possible to make it a very nonchalant situation. Yeah, we parted ways with Vrabel, but I feel like there was a little tainting to his name, or attempted tainting to his name, and this makes it even more of a statement to put up some big numbers on Sunday.
How much time do we have?
I mean, how long do you want to stick around?
Yeah, I know, right? Look, the things aren't good here right now. I mean, they just fired the coach less than 2 years into his tenure. The owner is an absentee owner who hides when things are bad, and she's hired someone to speak for them for football that I don't think is necessarily qualified for it. And so things aren't good. The fans are restless. The fans are tired of losing. They want to see this football team have the success that they did under Mike Vrabel. And you can say what you want about him. I mean, he could get prickly towards the end, but you guys had Belichick, so I don't think that's anything new. And there is a lot of that there, even though Mike doesn't want to admit that. There is a lot of Belichick in him, but fans are just tired of losing. They're tired of firing people. I mean, she has fired 2 GMs, 2 head coaches, or 3 GMs. I mean, I've lost count. And so I think they're tired of that and ready to find stability like they had when John Robinson and Mike Vrabel were here.
I just think the timing of this is fascinating. Obviously the Patriots are playing well. The Titans are in the toilet, as we know, 1-5, 4-19 since Vrabel's dismissal. But the thing that I guess I'm wondering if you have any intel into, I know, like you said, the owner's not talking, but was this firing at all strategic, timing-wise, in it happening before Vrabel comes in versus, maybe it's a different opponent this week. He coaches one more game, goes poorly, then he's out, versus, you can't fire Callahan, Vrabel's replacement, after getting whooped by Vrabel and the Patriots, right? You have to do it before.
Yeah, no, and I do think there was strategy there. What the reports were that, and I was actually in Las Vegas for the game, and so going, watching that game and just how terrible it was, and then going into the locker room and the press conferences after the game, you could just feel defeat. There was no passion. The players were just like, what are we doing? Jeffery Simmons was talking about how they had a terrible week of practice, which that's an indictment on the coach. If a player's saying that. And then, Brian Callahan, you could tell he's like, I don't know what to do. I don't have the answers. And so we left that day kind of thinking it could happen, because I said, you either have to do it now or you have to wait until the bye. But if you do it after New England, it's going to be the same thing that happened when she fired John Robinson, which was 2 days after A.J. Brown, who he traded, came in and just absolutely torched the Titans. So it's all about optics. And I think going ahead and making the move the week before, yes, people are going to talk about it of the timing, but I think it was the right move, because then you're not looking reactive to what is probably going to happen on Sunday.
That's a great point in terms of being reactive. Obviously, mess is a key ingredient for low morale, but it hasn't been that much time since the firing. But are you feeling a little bit of a different wave of like maybe these players can re-buy in, because you've got a face of the franchise in Cam Ward? I mean, I know I was excited for him and what his potential could be in the NFL, but what's been hard over the past couple of years is seeing these young quarterbacks being put in positions where they have to carry an entire team, which just cuts into their developments for them to properly take that next step in the NFL. What have you seen out of Cam Ward, and potentially a hindrance to his development, or just the fact that now he has an opportunity to finally take a proper step forward?
Yeah, I think time's going to tell on that. But I mean, there have been some things I've liked, and then there have been some things that concern me when it comes to Cam Ward's development. And ultimately, I believe that's what led to the decision to fire Brian Callahan, because they, Chad Brinker, Mike Borgonzi, Amy Adams Strunk, the collective, probably felt that Cam was not developing at the rate that he should. And so they ultimately made that move. Cam is a very, laid back, like he was asked about the change and he's like, yeah, I hate it for Cali, but not a whole lot changes for me in my preparation. And he's like, I've been through, Incarnate Word and changing coaches in Washington State, Miami, and now here. So it's something he's used to. But now the key is going to be whether, if Mike McCoy is a true candidate for the full-time job, he's going to have to show that Cam Ward is showing massive improvement between now and the end of the season, or he won't even be considered, because everything revolves around how much can you develop Cam Ward. I said that going into the season. When Brian Callahan's seat was hot, I said, look, if you can win 3 games, but if Cam Ward's getting better, he's going to keep the job. Obviously, Cam Ward was going in the wrong direction, and they made the change.
I know you made mention of, could this be a 59-0 kind of Patriots win? And that's obviously one end of the spectrum here. But I just think that, people want to feed into the new coach bump, right? And the extra energy, motivation, and guys on the field worried about their jobs and all of these things, where I just don't think that necessarily applies here is, one, I just think the Vrabel narrative cancels things out.
Yeah.
And also on the other side, whereas I know we saw not too long ago Antonio Pierce leading the Raiders over the Chiefs, that doesn't happen here, because where's the leadership for the Titans? Yeah. I mean, truly, Mike McCoy was so forgettable as San Diego's head coach. There's a reason he was the senior offensive assistant here with the Titans before getting this promotion. And also, Cam Ward, and this is not an indictment on him fully. He's a rookie. I mean, gone are the days of a guy like Patrick Mahomes sitting a year behind Alex Smith. You're just thrust in as a rookie these days. But, Cam Ward he's been very vocal in the media and not always saying the smartest things, with a lack of offensive line in front of him, taking more sacks than anybody in the NFL, meanwhile calling everybody, staff, teammates, everyone but on this team, basically. It's a bad situation for Tennessee. I just think the Patriots are hitting them at exactly the right time.
Yeah, there were some T-shirts made off of that quote, so there was definitely some of that. You're right, though. I mean, the Patriots are coming in here at the right time for them, because you got a team that really, you ask about leadership, Jeffery Simmons is the one that really stands out, and I mean, he's been a guy that has had his times where he's trying to fight in practice or whatever, but I think he's grown. I think he is really developed and matured, and he's the one that told us, hey, we came out flat in practice, and then we came out flat in the game, and we can't do that. And there was a report that he was getting on J.C. Latham about having a bad practice, and so, but that's it. That's your leadership, and that's a guy that was developed under Mike Vrabel, and there's a lot of Mike Vrabel in Jeffery Simmons, but then everybody else is either young or just not that leadership quality type player. I like Mike McCoy, seemed like a very nice guy, but I heard the press conference. It was like, this guy has no chance of getting the job full time. And if he does, It just continues to be an indictment of ownership and the bad decisions that they make here with the Tennessee Titans. So, I just think that you got a more developed quarterback right now. You got a better head coach. That team in general with the Patriots is well coached, and they're going to have the upper hand on Sunday.
Yeah, you love having vocal players, but you don't technically want them to be wearing the coach's hat because the coach is incapable of coaching. That's going to really cause some mess. And plus, players don't always respond to that. But you mentioned Simmons, and I kind of mentioned that he's probably the one guy who could be a one-man wrecking crew to make this more interesting than it's anticipated to be. If it's not, a 59-0 situation, what do you foresee in this matchup? Because sometimes desperate teams can pull out surprises, and they can also be very dangerous when need be.
Well, I will say we used to joke around here that there was the Vrabel special, and that was they'd win the game they weren't supposed to win and then turn around and lose the game they weren't supposed to lose. So, I mean, that's obviously in play. I don't think it's going to happen here this weekend. But, look, I mean, you mentioned the interim coach bump and like, hey, we got to rally around him and, Simmons and Cam Ward and Tony Pollard and others, Peter Skoronski, trying to just rally the troops around Mike McCoy. But I just don't think this team is good enough. That's the problem. Like in those situations, like, yes, you fired the coach because you're not winning, but, typically there are better players. This roster is terrible. It just is. They, and no offense to the guys playing, but they just don't have the horses. And do I think New England is a Super Bowl caliber team? No, not yet, but they have the pieces that are building towards that. Drake Maye is going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League. And Josh McDaniels may not be much of a head coach, but he's a heck of an offensive coordinator. We saw all those years with Brady and what he's done. And I think he's done a really good job with Drake Maye. So I think it's going to be really hard to combat that if you're Tennessee with Vrabel and company coming in Sunday.
Chase, last one for you. Mike Vrabel, as a player for the Patriots and obviously a Super Bowl winner, a renowned, practical joker, prankster, all of this stuff. And as a coach, we've seen some of that mentality bleed over a little bit when games are personal. When he's come back to New England, some of the different things that he did against Bill Belichick, against Tom Brady. What do we see on the flip side here? I mean, how deep into the playbook is he going to truly embarrass the Titans and in particular ownership this weekend?
Oh, I think he's going to pull out all the stops and look, yeah, he's a smart butt is the best way to put it. And I like that. I used to laugh. I mean, there were times where I'd get mad and be like, Mike, just answer the question. But, there'd be other times where I'd laugh because I knew that that was him. That's his personality. I think you're going to see them do anything they can to embarrass the Tennessee Titans. And in the post-game press conference, you're probably going to hear the word collaboration because that was the buzzword that they threw out there when they fired Robinson. They brought in Rand Carthon, tried to force him to work with Vrabel, and Vrabel wanted Ryan Cowden, who's now in New England, to be the guy. So I'm sure there's going to be some sort of quip of collaboration or something after the game. But barring any kind of miracle, I look for Vrabel to just throw everything he's got and embarrassing his former owner and his former team.
Chase McCabe from 102.5 The Game in Nashville covers the Titans, does a great job doing so there. Chase, thank you so much for getting up early and joining us here. Thanks for having me. Absolutely. All right, we are going to step aside when we come on back. There are other things going on in the world of sports, guys. How about baseball playoffs? I know the Red Sox aren't still involved, but there are 4 teams in action. And oh, by the way, Week 7 in the NFL is already underway. The Senior Citizen Bowl played out in entertaining fashion. We'll be back on Boston Has Entered the Chat.